So today's presentation is going to talk about how the new Robles Park will look in the future. This meeting was given online by the Tampa Housing Authority, including the residents to give their input. It was well attended. These meetings are open to the residents in the community, and it normally occurs every 2 weeks. So what I'm going to do is to make sure that, especially those folks that are part of my circle, that have taken the class with me during the entrepreneurship program that we have, and Robles Park, about 30, 40 of y'all. I'm gonna make sure y'all get copies so y'all can share with residents as well. And the share is on the internet as well. It is so very important that residents do take part in what the new Robles Park will look like. And here's what we know. In a lot of developments, in which you got projects being converted to mixed income, and those projects take 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 years, there is a low return rate among residents, normally anywhere between 10 to 15%. However, because of projects like this, there is an increase in the number of affordable homes that's available to the general population. And when I say affordable homes, I mean there's a waiting list of thousands, if not tens of thousands, of people that's waiting to get into some type of decent housing. And these are families that's living in the worst of worst substandard housing. So because Robles Park project is about affordable housing, it increased the number of affordable housing in general that's out there on the market. It also, and this is very important, it's a opportunities for residents that's in Robles Park to come back. Because the bottom line is that what happens in most projects like this, residents don't come back. And the reason why they don't come back, because it's taken 3, 5 years in order to produce the product. And in that time, people move to neighborhoods, they get friendly, they don't want to move because they've already reestablished themselves. So a large percentage of people don't come back because of that. And other reasons they don't come back related to catching a charge or whatever the case might be. My job is to make sure we increase that number from 15 to 20%, way higher in terms of those residents that are returning back to the new Robles Park by constantly providing you updates about what's going on in Robles Park. So no matter where you at, you can connect and see what's going on. Because at the end of the day, this new Robles Park can be something that is life-forming, and you deserve to come back, and you deserve to be part of this new Robles Park. So I encourage you not to be part of what most projects are, in which only 15 to 20% of the residents come back. I'm encouraging 30, 40% of residents to come back. So let's talk about, and I was long-winded in that respect. So let's talk about what it's going to look like. You're going to enjoy what the new Robles Park is going to look like.
Hang on. Okay, that's no problem. Carrie's not here today. Somebody
And can everyone mute their phone, please? All right. Good morning, everyone, and again, thank you for the attendance on the informational meeting for Robles Park as we prepare for relocation and redevelopment. Yeah, this is the master plan, which everyone participated. You're looking at the aerial 3-dimensional view. that sort of give an indication of what the place will look like, not once it's done. So this is just a pictorial view, which you will see very often once we get to the final stage. Next slide. Keep going. As you remember, when we started, and this is the formality for this type of development, getting everybody involved, the city, the county, the residents, the community at large, the elected officials, and the neighborhood organizations as well. So we set up several meetings regarded as community workshop, focus group, and steering committee. We also set up a website to allow those who weren't able to make it to the meeting to access the information and provide their own input. So as you look, you can see how many people attended, how many meetings that we had. And this is done to provide accessibility and inclusivity to all. We also have the Spanish speaking sessions as well, just to show you the extent of what we did to make sure we get enough information, because the involvement of all is very important in coming out with the final outcome of the master plan. And that's what we did. Next. From the master plan, from the meetings that we had, there was these are the topics that were part of what was discussed. What type of housing preferences, transportation method, improvements, child services, adult opportunities and additional services and amenities, exercise barrier. This has to do with security, improvement to the neighborhood, access to healthy food, and overall health improvement. Now, of course, we know that the current condition of that area is limited in terms of accessibility and connectivity, but it is important that this type of observations were made, which of course came from our residents and all the meetings that we had. And so we have that documented so that we'll make that part of the master plan as the problem that we sort of identify to begin to look for solutions on that. Next. Now, on the general concerns, we also come up with other areas, the better lighting, issues of environmental and child play, the oaks, are we going to retain the trees? What about the Zion Cemetery? Of course, Zion Cemetery is part of the observations, part of the scope. What type of air conditioning system in the unit? We want to make sure that when the housing development is done, that is efficient and healthy. Transportation access to downtown and so forth. These are some of the other issues that was identified that weren't part of the pillar, because what happened after we set up all the meetings, we came up with group all the concerns into four categories known as the pillars. And these items here that you see here are categorized under the general pillar, which is information that is not relating to housing, job, health, and so forth. Next. So this is a community resource hub. So what this is I want you to pay attention to this center. Is going to be a building that we envision to contain all the services that we envision to have, that we can have on site. And the ones that we weren't able to contain, we'll push them off site, but then they will be handled by partners who will then, the services here will connect us to connect the needs to the partners that we have outside of this. So this is a one-stop shop. We call it the hub. It's envisioned to be a 50,000 square feet facility that will serve as a one-stop shop and to offer all kinds of services that we thought that is amenable or should be located within the site, which is not available as we speak. And these are the concerns that the residents brought up and some of the meetings that we had as well. So relating to health, insurance, wellness, education, enrichment, technology, and nutrition, job, community board offices. This will be set up as a 501c3 and will be managed as such, and they will provide services relative to education, to health and wellness, basic needs and services, and which is has to do with housing and of course jobs and economic vitality. Next. So under the house and economic vitality, the basic needs here, this, when you go into that hub, can you go back to the last slide, please, Todd? So now this hub, as you can see, all this section, the next four slides are broken into 4 separate sections just to show you specific of the services for each of these pillars that is shown here. So the next slides that you're gonna see is gonna be specific for each of these. Next. So now under the housing and basic needs, if you have issue, concern, or needs relating to housing, you will be allowed, you will enter the hub, the facility. Then you will be, the concierge will provide access to service navigator, who will then take you to the providers within the hub. If it's something relating to wraparound services and so forth, they will provide that. They will take you directly there. We have wraparound service providers in Hillsborough County. We have Healthy and Start Coalition. These are providers that will be housed within that area, and they will provide the services relative to food insecurity, hunger, housing stability, safety and security, technology access, childcare. This depends on what you need. If that you come in here with that, they will effectively direct you to that site. If it has to do with transportation, they will help you as well. Next. And then on the health and wellness, the same. We're gonna have in their house, Hillsborough County, Baycare, Tampa Family Health Center, and we're gonna have Tampa General. So again, services will be primary care, dental, mental health. You don't have to go too far from the site. There won't be no dependency on transportation. This will be provided on site, and this hub will provide the enclosure and place for this level of services. If it's something beyond this area, you will be connected to a partner that we have lined up, and they will help you out as well. Next. And for the cradle and career services, this is very critical. You know, from young age, it's good to have access to after school programs, because that's when the breakdown happens. Kids start to drift away and not being focused on their goals. So in this case, from early learning, the provision will be there to guide that family or that kid to make sure they are focused on their goal. Residents would like to see more educational opportunities. That's what we picked up from our meeting. This will include adult as well, offered within walking distance from the neighborhood. Now, through the community partnership, residents will be able to find programs that appeal to their child or children's who is with their interests and needs. These programs will be available to children from elementary through high school. On the adult side, entrepreneurship, readiness and financial literacy, training, and you're gonna have all kinds of skills training available within this site. And if you are in elementary school, youth development will be available as well, innovative curriculum. Early education foundation will be provided. Even in high school, there will be tutorial, there will be cultural activities and social emotional counseling. So just to keep the kids focused and make sure that they're doing well in school. And because that pathway will provide opportunity for good jobs and good living. Next. And then jobs and economic vitality pillar. Again, once you get into the hub, Tampa Housing Authority will be there, Career Source will be there, CDC will be there. We constantly communicate with our residents in terms of job opportunities, even when we have ongoing construction work. we make sure through our Section 3 and MBE, we encourage those residents who wants to open their own businesses. Now, that hub will help to support that effort and provide opportunity for jobs as well. So there'll be a computer lab, there'll be computer literacy, soft skills, business incubator will be there in case you want to establish your own business, and then financial advisory office as well. There'll be on-the-job training, apprenticeship program, community college courses will be there as well. There'll be 4-year university program, again, to guide you through that process. And that hub is one stop. It's a very effective tool that we incorporated as part of the concept for this redevelopment that will help our residents so that dependency on transportation will not be the issue here. Next. And then this is the actual master plan. We're looking at this now. Now, I want to advise that master plan sometimes, when it first established, as we go through our master developer, once we pick one, go through this, we take another look at it and make some revision, and that's how you get finalized before the actual buildings start coming up. But based on what we have today, you can look at the location for the cemetery, Zion Cemetery, to the northeast corner of the site. You see the big buildings, which is the AA, BB, and C, AA, BB, and BC, I'm sorry. These are all residential multifamily development, envisioned to be 5 to 6 stories, 120 units. They are put in a set so that they're bordered towards Martin Luther King, which is a heavy commercial corridor. As you know, within that area, the development, this is a very unique site. You have Interstate 275, not far from there. You have Nebraska, you have Florida Avenue. There's a lot of Florida Avenue, of course, and Nebraska, heavy commercial, and they're up and coming. And this will provide access to all these amenities that have been lacking within this area as well. So you can begin to see the level of development that we have established for this site. Currently, we have 432 units. We anticipate to get a little over 1,000 units here based on the existing zoning. But looking at what we have, you can see the access again to the hub, which is the D section, and it's located centrally to the site. And then as you come through the East Lake Avenue, half of a roundabout area, you see that a seashell shape that brings you all the way to the cemetery. That's the Celebration Park. And celebration through the Celebration Park and the Memorial Historic Walk. This seashell shape again is cultivated here because of the findings that was discovered during the observation here on the cemetery. There was a lot of seashell that was dug out during the observation to find out the remain on that site. So this becomes a sort of a memory and concept that mimic that finding and making reference to the cemetery, and that's how you brings your attention to the site. And then you have the grocery store. You have also 12,000 square feet commercial public use residential amenity, which will be located right here. There's going to be a lot of amenities associated with this site. And then you have the market rate development, 77 units, right there south of the site towards the gateway. And then you have the senior housing, which is the E residential seniors on E's. They're located close to the park, who gave access to the outdoor amenities to the seniors. And then the homeownership for sale, which again frame the site and begin to relate to the overall area, because most of the area will be, as we know today, is residential development. So it's a well-balanced site in terms of the adjacencies, in terms of placement, and it's a lot of open space. The trees are left to remain, open space and green space all available. And this is what we have, and I think it's a beautiful site. This is also part of the information that you provided at the meetings. Next. And this is the three concept that we have for the cemetery. This will be finalized once we select the development partner. The first is just clear, not showing much, but just to retain the boundary as a green space. And the only thing common with all this site is the building that you see, the white building that you see looking down on the site, which will be the museum, the cemetery museum. That will be the same for all the site. And the second concept is, again, leaving the site the way it is, but reflecting the footprint of our building, where we relocated our residents, because part of the 5 building, I think, of Robles Park building site was right on top of that cemetery. And then the third is to reference the water, because water represents life, and then create sort of a swell around it, to give those who will come in to sit on and relax, because it's not going to be a place for mourning, but it's a place to come and relax and celebrate life, for the discovery of those who has been forgotten for a while. So the water, again, showing life, meaning that they live. We rejoice with them that they are discovered, and on the this swell bomb here prevent one from stepping over the grave, sort of give you a sense of pathway as you experience the site and enjoy the ambiance. But these are the concepts, but we don't know which one to select. Yeah, this will be expounded later on as we go through the developer partner. Next. And again, this picture just showing residents. The next 3 photos slides are just showing our residents who participated, and pictures 1,000 words, and it's clear in itself in terms of level of participation and interest. So this speaks for itself. Any questions? I'll be more than happy to answer. Thank you.
My question to Todd, because it was erased out when I did the initial tape, but the initial question that I had, and Mr. Aran responded to it, was making sure that residents are able to be connected to the process. And I talked about getting information so that I can be a vehicle to send that information out to all of those people that have attended my classes that we've given in Robles Park in terms of the entrepreneurship classes. And in doing so, they can share this with their friends. And as you can see, when the tape starts again, Mr. Ryan did think it was something that was doable.
Thank you, Randall.
Thank you very much, Michael.
David, can we get that done?
Yeah, my Walter can send that slide to Randolph. Yeah.
Yeah, let's do it on a regular basis, after every meeting.
Okay.
And then that would also encourage residents, but also let residents know what's going on a regular basis.
Right.
And
Absolutely.
at some point in time, we need to put together a newsletter. I think a newsletter would be appropriate too, to send out to residents, let them know what's going on, especially those that are not able to get on. We've got some issues with information and communication and all of that. But I think generally, if we can put together a newsletter and send out periodic information, I think that's going to be helpful.
And Jerome,
the more people that know what's going on, the better off we are.
And Jerome, you're right, and send it around the school. There's some schools in that area.
Absolutely. We need to make sure the community itself is aware of what's going on and the conversations that we're having and the meetings that we're having. I just think that's extremely important. Thank you, Mike.
Appreciate that comment, Michael, and that really dovetails in with what the purpose of these bi-weekly meetings that we're having. So we've started these well in advance, again, to inform everyone on steps that they can take now, long before we start the relocation process. So appreciate that comment. Reva, I see. Did you have a question?
Yeah, I have. I just want to let them know for those who are working, and you have applied for funding through the R3 program, in Florida. If you're having a hard time getting a response back for them, if you don't mind, you can reach out to me. I do have an inside source within that I can call them, and they can look into your case and see what's going on and how can they expedite that.
Yeah, thanks for that. Thanks for that, Reva. Any other comments or questions? All right, David.
All right, you have the slide. All right. Again, good morning, everyone. This is a quick look in terms of where we are and how we're going to articulate the process of redevelopment. Our regular meetings, which is what we're having now, the informational and relocation meeting, of course, is to give you good background information and preparation for relocation. So this is not the relocation meeting, but it's informational meeting. It's informational that will be cogent for your preparation, so that you use it, take it, and especially what Margaret presented in terms of access to housing and making decision in terms of where you need to move to. So you can begin early to look into that. But once we get into relocation, and then, time will begin to narrow. So as you know, we have put out the solicitation for a developer partner. And this is what we've done all the time when we did the Central Park, which is now the Encore. We ended up with Bank of America, and then West River, we ended up with Related Group out of Miami. Now we're doing the same for Robles Park. So once the proposal comes in, which the deadline is on the 19th, Leroy would then coordinate the process of evaluating the proposal, and then through that process, we'll come up with a good candidate or firm who will be a developer partner for Robles Park, and everything will start from there. Then the relocation plan drafting, we're looking at October and November to have the plan drafted, and I think most of this is coming out of Stephanie's shop and Margaret, because I think it comprises of relocation 101, case management 101, and the Section 8 process, the voucher process, education as well. So once we get that information, we will circulate that and make sure everybody's familiar with the document and how the process will go, which will involve how the relocation will go as well. The actual relocation, whether it's going to be single phase, multi-phase, we've done multi-phase relocation, and that has worked from what we've done so far. But looking at what we have now, and it becomes reasonable to look at this as well to see if multi-phase will be economically feasible for us, and be still adaptable by those who will be using them. So, but that decision will be made by the residents. I think resident survey will go out, and from that we will know what the residents are thinking, what will be their choice in terms of relocation. So, but that process, we hope to engage the process of relocation in 2022 going forward. So, but the process of that survey, as we begin to sample interest on our residents and begin to see, I think we did some of that when we were having our outreach meeting and workshop with the residents. So even though at that time, and this would change over time, at that time, most residents were thinking that they will move as a whole. Everybody wants to move out. But as we continue to inform and bring, inform our residents in terms of the process, and and as they begin to get educated on this and get knowledge, so it will guide them towards making the right decision in terms of which process will be conducive for them. And then the demolition phase, of course, once we do our relocation, whether it's going to be single or multi-phase, we will then coordinate that with the demolition. Again, that will be, demolition will follow the footprint of the relocation outcome. In other words, if it's single phase, then the demolition will be single phase. If it's multi-phase, the demolition will be multi-phase demolition. The development, again, will be in phases. Of course, just like what we're doing with West River and what we've done with Encore, with the developer partner. I think Leroy expressed that as well last time. We're going to have multiple vertical development. That's where we're going to have other developers who, those proposals that will be coming in. Some will be interested in vertical development, which will allow them to do just partner with THA and do that single development. Even if they partner, if they submit to do BB, BA, or multi vertical development on that master plan, we will end up awarding them only one. So if that happens, then they will end up partnering with THA. And we did the same with West River, but in this case, we did the Renaissance with Bank of America. Bank of America, of course, is a well-known, well-financed entity, which shows a lot of experience in terms of doing that type of project. So we were able to partner with them. Even if we end up with several of those proposals, that we have to look at the qualification and make sure that they are well equipped to do that. In this particular case, we're looking at awarding maybe multiple vertical entities, vertical development, which will partner with THA. If we end up with one, then based on lack of qualification and we happen to see one, then we'll do similar, just like we did at West River. But for master developer, once we get a master developer, they will be they can do multiple verticals with us, and then be responsible for the overall master development plan, and going through financing, taking the risk in managing and developing the site, partnering with THA. They will be the general partner in that process. We will be the limited partner, and of course, at some point they will exit once we finish the development after stabilization. But that's the process that we will go. And of course, like every other project that we've done, we anticipate this to be between 8 to 10 years in terms of complete build out. We started West River 2016. We completed a relocation November 2016. So this is 5 years in. And of course, all the sites are now fully funded except for T4 phase 2 and T5 phase 1. So we estimated the same amount of time, 6 to 10 years. So, but we're 5 years, so we're fast paced on West River. That depends on how the funding comes in. So, but this is a good estimate in terms of from the time we complete relocation going forward. So we anticipate 8 to 10 years in making. But we'll continue to refine the schedule as we see it once we get into a relocation process. So thank you all. And if you have any question, I'll be more than happy to answer.
And
Oh, Leroy is in now. So Leroy, okay, he said no.
No, you did well, David. It's a little noisy here, so I'm just joining.
Okay.
The only statement in the chat is from 01 that says they were told about 50-50 on the multiple and single. Not sure exactly what that means. If caller number 01 wants to elaborate, they can do so.
Okay.
And the only other question is, when will relocation start? And Mr. Alon, you just kind of alluded to that.
Mhm.
But that's the last two comments in the chat.
Okay. Thanks, Rosa.
Okay, very good. Any other questions before we conclude? Again, and we covered a lot of ground today, so if you have, if you think of something after the meeting concludes, reach out to your caseworker, Section 8, or Ms. Stephanie's department, Program Property Services, or you can contact the management office and we'll get answers for you. We'll have another meeting again in 2 weeks. Same login information, same time, 11 o'clock Thursday. So, and we'll just.
Hey, Todd, did you do the survey?
No, in fact, we did not. And we have.
I think you're gonna do the survey real quick before you guys drop off.
All right.
All right, I just launched it. Can everybody see it?
Yes, Matthew.
All right.
Yeah, so this is a survey. We're trying to just get residents' input on this. So if you guys can just make the selection that you feel is the best situation for you, and you click the next button and it'll take you to the next question. I think there's only 3 questions. And again, we'll be making this survey, taking this survey at each of our Thursday meetings.
Okay.
And we will be sending this out in a formal survey probably in the next 30 days or so. We'll be working with Reba to get this survey circulated to all of the residents at Robles Park.
Hey, Leroy,
So the third,
quick question for
Yep.
you on the survey, just so the residents will know, as we do this every meeting, you're gonna have residents, I guess, conflicting from their previous decision.
yeah, that's okay. Yeah, absolutely. Your opinion can change from one meeting to the next as you get more information.
Mhm.
And the real key question is that last question, if you're on it already, question 3 of 3 is, do you favor a single phase relocation or a multi-phase relocation? As David explained, the single phase relocation is where everybody moves, and then we do one demolition of the whole site, and then we build back the new community, and you have the right to return when the new units are built. The multi-phase is where literally no one will have to move, because we've got enough vacancies there now that we can move people on site to another empty Robles unit. And you can literally stay on site for the 8 to 10 years before you actually get moved into a new unit on site. We'll do it in smaller phases, 100 units or so at a time. That allows you to never have to leave the site. So you won't have to go through an off-site relocation at all. We've never done it that way. We've always done a single phase relocation. We give residents the benefits of choosing a Section 8 voucher or choosing another public housing unit. We pay all the costs of relocation, security deposits, and all that stuff, so it's not a burden to you. And then you have the right to come back to the new site if you choose to when the new units are built. So that's a single phase relocation.
Single phase. Right.
So if you prefer to stay on site and never have to move off site, then you would choose multi-phase. If you would prefer to get a voucher or get another public housing unit somewhere else and move in the next year, you would choose single phase. And then once you've answered all three of those questions, hit the submit button, and then Matthew will be able to display the results of everybody. So we'll just give you just another 10 seconds or so to get through those three questions if you haven't already. So Matthew, you let us know when it looks like we're done. Sure, sure.
So I was asking Leroy a question related whether,
Michael,
whether or not funds will be available.
that's a very astute point, Michael. It's very, very, and I can't answer that question, of course, but
Question
yeah,
was
with
whether
the
or not we
multi-phase,
would
you
have
certainly
funds
have a longer rest.
continue the project.
You don't have the certainty of being able to, get the site down. Once you get the site down, then you can build it back as you get the funding. If you're relying on the multi-phase, that means we just said that we move people into all the occupied units, free up one zone of 100 units. We tear down just those
how you doing?
100 units, say 20 buildings. And then we, fund, build the new ones, then we move the people in the next block over, and we just sort of leapfrog throughout the site. So yeah, the long term is that, with different administrations, you have more resources. With some administrations, you have fewer resources. With this administration that's in now, clearly we have more resources that's expected to be available. We don't know what's going to happen 3 years from now. But it's a very good point to bring up. We'll sort of start including that as part of the the pros and cons as well.
Can I call you back in about 10 minutes? Because I'm videotaping something. Oh, good, it's over. Hold on 1 second. Let me stop this. This next section is from the day's meeting. This says this was the second meeting with residents to get an opportunity to weigh in, and this happened today. The first presentation was from the 14th, and here's some information that I pulled from the day's meeting.
So as I said, the developer selection process, we have a panel of 7 people, 4 staff and 3 residents that are actively evaluating. I am not one of the evaluators, but I'm the facilitator for the process. So I actually review and read through these proposals myself, and they are really good, solid proposals. So no doubt, I think we're going to have our best collection of developers to work on this project than what we've had to date. But stay tuned, we'll be announcing those developer names in the coming month or so. The actual relocation won't start until next year. We hope it will start first quarter of next year, which is January, February, or March. We will start the relocation meetings before the end of the year. We will start doing our one-on-one briefings with our residents, and we hope to get our residents cleared for relocation off-site, if indeed we do off-site relocation in the first quarter of next year. Now, once again, if we choose the multi-phase relocation, that means that people don't have to leave the site at all. So if you love living in the Robles Parks community, you want to be able to see the development take place across the street from you, we can move people into vacant units, tear down a section, build that section, move people across the street into the new section, tear down the second section, and we will leapfrog around the community like that. So that is a second option on relocation. We have never done it that way, but we are willing to consider doing it this way only if the residents choose that that's the preference that they would like to see happen. So we're going to do a survey in the next month, And the results of that survey will inform us on the decision and the approach toward relocation. Then we will submit our relocation plan to HUD, hopefully in December. And once HUD approves that relocation plan, we will be then ready to start relocation if indeed we move people off site. Demolition will be in a single phase as well, if indeed we do a single phase relocation. But if we do the multi-phase relocation, then demolition will occur in multiple phases. The development, the building back of the new units, either way will be done in phases. This overall project could be an 8 to 10 year completion. So this doesn't happen in a year or 2 or 3. So if we do the multi-phase relocation and we keep people on site, you know, that's going to be 8 to 10 years of literally living next door to a construction site. But the benefit to you is that you don't have to get a voucher. You don't have to leave the site. You don't have to look to re-enroll your kids in new schools and search for a new neighborhood to live in, etc. If you do choose the single phase relocation and we move everybody off site, everybody who's relocated off site will have the right to come back to this new community once it's built. If you choose to do so, it is your choice to come back. But that is a choice that you get when you are relocated off site. And that choice will remain yours. The only thing that could negatively impact your ability to come back to this new site is if you have lease violations and get evicted after the date that we relocate you. Everybody gets a clean slate when we relocate you. We don't use anything that's in your past. We don't use past credit issues, past eviction issues, past lease compliance issues. But on the day we relocate you, you all get a new slate. And 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years later, if you choose to come back to Robles Park Village, you have a guaranteed right to come back to Robles Park Village by us, as long as you have maintained lease compliance for that period of time that we relocated you off site until when you choose to come back. So that's our presentation for today. I want to ask our residents to unmic at this time and ask any additional follow-up questions. And actually, before you do that, let me just go through that quick survey again. So, so this is the unofficial survey, but we've been doing this in all of our informational meetings. I believe there's only 2 residents online, or Janisha's iPhone or M.I. Legros. I don't know if you are residents or not. But if you are, please participate in this survey. So we should only have, I think, a maximum of 4 people taking the survey. Yes, you are a resident. Great, thank you, M. Lagoros. So we'll have these 4 residents, so staff should not be taking this survey. So Matthew, if you're up, if you can put up the first survey question. So residents only, how many years have you lived in Robles Park Village? If it's 0 to 5, 5 to 10, or 10 plus years, make your selection. The second question is, right now, would you prefer Section 8 as a relocation choice, or would you rather move to a new property, another property of ours? So just choose either Section 8 or be able to move to another THA property. The third question, do you favor a single phase relocation or a multi-phase relocation? And once again, the single phase relocation is where we move everyone next year in 2022. It'll take a full year to get everybody relocated, but we'll go through a single phase relocation process. Everybody will have the choice of either a Section 8 voucher or being relocated to another one of our properties, and everybody leaves site. And then we demolish the buildings all at once. The multi-phase relocation is where we don't move anyone off site, but we just move you within the site to another vacant unit. And then we tear down one cluster of vacant buildings and build back on just that one small part of Robles Park. And once those units are completed, we move a group of residents into those units and we tear down the second phase. That way, you never have to actually get a voucher. You never have to go to another THA site. You can remain in the same community and not have to relocate off-site at all. That is an option this time. So those are your 3 questions. Matthew, I believe.
Yeah, I already got 4 votes, so want me to go ahead
Okay,
and,
great. So show us
is that
the results.
everybody?
Yes. And those of you who have that screen up, you can just hit close the window without voting. All right, here are the results. How many years have you lived in Robles? 75% of the people have lived there for less than 5 years. Right now, would you prefer Section 8 or another property? It's a 50-50 tie, so that's good. We've got plenty of vouchers, and we also have 19, 20 other properties available for relocation. So either way, we will have the resources. So about half is choosing Section 8 and half is choosing another property. And then, do you prefer a single phase relocation or a multi-phase relocation? At this point, 75% of the residents are choosing the single phase relocation, which is an off-site relocation. And only 1 is choosing the multi-phase, would like to actually stay in the neighborhood. So thank you so much for that information. Again, this is an informal survey. We are going to put together a formal paper survey, and it's going to be delivered to every household at Robles and collected by our resident council. And that will be the official survey that we will use to base our decision on, and that'll happen sometime in November, very early December at the latest. So you can close that window and open your mics. Any of our residents that have any questions?
Yeah, Leroy, can everybody hear me?
Yes.
So I do have comments and questions. First, is this going to be the survey in question? Is that going to be online where people can go maybe to your main page and connect and voice their opinion related to that?
The survey, we want one to ensure that it's only residents that are taking the survey. So when we put it online, it's difficult to control that. So we will distribute it in paper form to all of the occupied households, and it'll be collected by the resident council and then delivered to us, and we'll tabulate it.
Now, the other question is to take into consideration, I know I brought this up at the last meeting, was the question of multi-phase and the question of whether or not there will be money available because of the current administration, and we're happy with them, but we don't know what's going to happen in 2022 or 2024. So there needs to be a rise. And when people make a decision, think about that the money don't run out. And then lastly, the question, now I can't even remember what the last.
No, but Michael, on that same point, you're exactly right. That is a little bit extra risk on the multi-phase. It does take longer to do it multi-phase. It is more expensive to do it multi-phase, because you've got to protect the site. You've got a large population of people to try to keep safe while you're trying to build a community right in the same neighborhood. There's a lot more inconveniences to the people on site that remain on site in multi-phase because you'll have power outages and water outages, sometime throughout the day on a sporadic basis as utilities are being, ripped up and we're trying to change things over. And that naturally costs more, which means it's naturally going to take longer as well. But again, we're trying to minimize, we want to find out from the residents, if you love the community and you've got, very strong family connections in that community, and it's going to be a detriment to you to have to move somewhere else, you would rather stay there. If the majority of our families have that level of commitment and desire, we will work around all of those difficulties and try to make it happen without having to displace families from the site.
And my last question goes to Section 8 vouchers. Would it be, when you think about the fact that not everybody will accept a Section 8 voucher, shouldn't people think about actually moving into another property owned by housing authority? Because I know that's a question by some people as to whether or not, even though they got a Section 8, and they attempt to get a piece of property, and the markets are going up like crazy. So can you address that question? Section 8 versus moving into one of your properties related to the relocation?
Very good. I'll let Margaret answer that question.
Well, I mean, I think that's all, as you saw in that survey and the ones we previously had, I think a lot of the residents are 50-50 on that. So they definitely have the opportunity, and with the properties that we have, that they get first right to that vacancy. So, and you do understand, because you're part of that, is like West River, look at all those beautiful properties coming up. So once we start redevelopment and those individuals, you know, they get that first opportunity to move to one of those properties. So, and it's not just those properties, of course, but throughout the portfolio that we have. And I know from the past how we have done it is, for instance, if the families wanted to get the voucher and then they couldn't find anything there, that the second opportunity was the units that we own. So I think the advantages are, you know, depending on the individual, could be either way. I think Mr. Moore made a point about support and where are the support system for those, the families. So it's available. It's either or. It's not either or. It's whether you can find a unit or not, but we're going to help the family along the way. Does that help or not help?
Oh yes, you was on point. I just want people, see, information is power, and the more information you have, the wiser choice you make. So thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
Okay. Are there any other questions? All right, hearing none. So we will have another meeting in 2 weeks. Thank you all for joining us today, and have a great, wonderful rest of the day.